back for another episode of Thinkific Live, and today we have a really awesome guest, Dr. Mark Waid, joining us in a few seconds. Dr. Mark is gonna. I'm gonna get. Oh, my phone is on. But we're gonna get Dr. Mark Waid to introduce himself in a little bit. If you guys are joining us live, give us a like, share this out. If you're watching this on the replay, give us a little hello in the comments. Let us know that you tuned in on the replay. Feel free to still drop your questions, even though you're watching this on the replay. We're here. We're part of the community. Dr. Mark Waid's in our Thinkific studio as well, so he will be able to answer any questions you have around virtual summits. So this is a really awesome one. Dr. Mark Waid has done a ton of awesome things recently. Puerto Rico Mastermind, which we'll be talking about, and he's got a really cool software that he wants to share with us today. So without further ado, we're going to bring Dr. Mark Waid on the screen.
There is.
Dr. Waid.
What's up? What's up? I'm here live and in person, looking good. Look at you two. You guys are, you look so good on screen together. It's a beautiful couple there.
Those filters, the beautification filters.
Yeah, that's right.
Set to very high, maximum.
Maximum.
Whatever you're doing, it's working. Keep it up. It's that glow. Look at Rob. He's got that nice glow about him and everything.
He's got to make the position light. You're looking well though, mate. You're in Colombia right now, learning deep immersion. Spanish and obviously looking for.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Doing
a Spanish immersion here in Medellin for a couple months. Living it. I love Medellin. For everybody tuning in, if you've not been to Colombia, I was kind of nervous at first, honestly. Like, it was also a personal development move for me to not, go to another country by myself. And but I got here, I was a little intimidated originally, thinking, is it safe? Is it not? No, it's amazing. The people are amazing. So but I'm loving it. So if you want to do part of this in Spanish, we can give that a try too. No, I'm just joking.
We'll do the sign off actually at the end. So where you are right now in Colombia is it's becoming quite the tech hotspot. Certainly for South America now. There's a lot of great talent coming out of that part.
Yeah, but you know where the hot spot really is right now for entrepreneurs? It's in Puerto Rico. So that's where home is for me, is Puerto Rico.
So Mark, so that's what you just got up to.
Yeah, so I run this yearly event called Puerto Rico Masterminds, where we bring together successful, entrepreneurs, people like Todd Herman, John Lee Dumas, Pat Flynn, Lewis Howes, Jeff Walker, Shah Wasman, and many more. We get together and we work on the business instead of in the business. This is a little key takeaway for anybody listening here. If you're just getting started building something, whether it's a mastermind, an event, a course, a business, whatever. One of the best things you can do, and I feel like maybe this is a little less known, is when you're building something out, most of the times we think we should be building it for our audience, right? Like we think, okay, I need to build this course for the people in my audience. And what the truth is, you should actually be building it for you, because you're the one who's got to be there every day. You're the one who's got to show up. You're the one who's got to deliver. You're the one who's got to live it for 2, 5, 10, 15 years. So that's what Puerto Rico Masterminds actually was, just a passion project. I wanted to get together. I had moved recently to Puerto Rico from Italy. I was in Italy for 6 years, and I just wanted to be, I didn't have a big entrepreneurial community in Italy. So that's one thing I wanted. So when I got to Puerto Rico, I decided, I'm just going to create this thing here, and I'm going to bring really successful, like-minded entrepreneurs together. And we're going to do it the way I want to do it, which I'm an aquatic being, guys. If I can be in, on, or near the water, I'm going to be. And so I built it so that we have these events where the sessions are in the pool, on the beach, on boats, etc. So that just happened. You're right. Just a couple weeks ago, I essentially left from there to here. We had Jeff Walker there, Todd Herman, John Lee Dumas. It was a lot of fun. I was really looking for Patty, Rob, or Greg. I was kind of bummed they weren't there, but I hear we might see them next year. So we'll keep an eye out for that.
That's on record now, so that's our invite.
If you think we should go, I guess.
If you think Rob should go, press 1.
Yeah. No, that's not. We actually, really quick question, and I know it's a little early for questions, but Suzette from Facebook Live is wondering, when is it? I live in Puerto Rico. So, Mark, do you have dates or any information for 2020?
Yeah, so 2020 is going to be the weekend of March 19th through the 22nd. And it's you can always go to Puerto Rico Masterminds.com, which we just had the site up there, and you can apply to be in the next cohort. That'd be awesome. And if you're in Puerto Rico, who'd you say it was, Susan or Suzette? Suzette, like, you need to come down and say hi to us in Palmas Del Mar. We'd love to meet, hang out.
There you go. Got a personal invite. So we'll share all the links. We're going to be mentioning a lot of links here throughout the live, but we'll put that all in the comments on Facebook Live and YouTube Live as well. So yeah, that's awesome. Dr. Mark, why don't you say a little bit about, I know you're doing the Puerto Rico Mastermind, but tell us, what do you do and who you are? Just sort of a brief introduction for people that are just tuning in right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Dr. Mark T. Waid, I am the founder of Virtual Summit Software, and I'm the host of the Virtual Summit podcast. But obviously you see that DR in front of my name. It's a little bit of a story there. So I'm a healthcare professional by trade. I'm a postural neurologist. I have 2 doctorates and about 50 some odd certifications in neurology, posture, neuroscience, et cetera. And I started in a brick and mortar business, and I actually went from, I had one of the most successful posture correction clinics in the country. But like most of us entrepreneurs, like, I had this burning desire to help more people, but I didn't want to expand my clinic, like do more clinics. So I decided to try this online business thing, which is kind of funny because I still remember my dad when I told him about it. He's like, are you crazy? It's like, you spent a decade getting these doctors in a successful clinic, and now you're just going to go sit behind the computer somewhere. And I actually started to believe him at one point because I was doing a lot of things and they weren't really working, but I didn't really know what I was doing. It wasn't until I heard my buddy Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income on a podcast talk about this thing called virtual summits. And I didn't really know what they were, but it sounded, like a great idea. And I said, I've given everything else a try. Let's give it a whirl. And I, tried to do this virtual summit. So actually what happened though, is at that time, I didn't really have any authority or influence, and I really couldn't get that many speakers. Actually, I could only get 9 speakers, and 2 of them, one was me, one was my partner. So I actually only got 7 speakers. So I actually ran it as a one-day summit. And at that time, I didn't really know I was doing anything like revolutionary or interesting. I was just being resourceful. But that one-day summit went on to be a very successful summit for us, which we ended up creating a certification based off of that summit, which became a multi-million-dollar certification. We spawned off several other certifications. Before we knew it, we had a multi-million-dollar online business in the health space. And we built those primarily with courses and summits. Our summits would feed our list, which we would then sell our courses. And for the longest time, I was building those by hand. I had 7 different softwares, 26 plugins, all Frankenstein together, and it looked like a 3rd grader had built them. It was kind of embarrassing, but it was still so effective and powerful that I couldn't not do them, right? So after a couple of years of running them like that, I ended up having a full team of staff that were running summits. I mean, we still to this day, we run 2 to 4 multi-day summits and 4 to 8 one-day summits in all of my businesses. But then I said, there should be an easier way to do this. We should be able, just like a webinar, you should be able, with no tech skill and a minimal amount of time, be able to do a summit. And so that's what I set out to do. And we created the Virtual Summit software, which is the only software designed specifically for hosting a virtual summit. And the best part about it is it's built to be super simple, super easy. You could literally have a summit up and running within 2 hours or less. So yeah, that's kind of the journey. Now I spend most of my time traveling around the world to masterminds, entrepreneur groups, things like that, teaching them strategies like the one-day summit formula and how they can implement these strategies to build their lists and then, of course, sell their courses.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great story. Yeah. And good to see that you've had that sort of like evolution of your career and who you are. As well, personally, you've gone from being like in medical practice now to, obviously you still are, but like in now a course entrepreneur and a tech entrepreneur as well. So that's great to see. So one thing that you mentioned that really stood out there is that, virtual summits and running virtual summits is a really great way to gain that instant authority, with people in your space. So When you're going out there and like trying to find partners or trying to find like-minded speakers, I know this is like a big question we always get asked. How do you actually go out and select the right people? What are the key things you need to remember?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a super important question, super important aspect. It really comes down to a couple steps back. So really it comes down to the specificity of your topic. So whether this is like a podcast, if you're going to do a partner webinar maybe, or even, a summit, for example, it really comes down to what is the problem you're solving for your audience. With that problem, there's going to be a set, number of solutions that your audience is going to need to have to overcome that problem. Each of those solutions now becomes a session, right? So that's a session or a topic or however you want to say it. And that right there allows you to know who to reach out to have speak on it. Now, the reason I say it like that is because the more specific the topic is to the person you're reaching out to talk to, and the more it looks like you've actually done a little bit of your homework, the more likely they are to say yes. So like I have a podcast, the Virtual Summit podcast, but if you reach out to me and say, hey, Mark, I want you to come on my summit or come on my show and teach about podcasting, it's not really what I'm into. It's not my zone of genius. But if you came up and you were like, Mark, I'd love you to teach summits or the one-day summit, like that's an easy yes. And that's how it's going to be for most people. Now, also kind of go in alignment with this, I think this is super important. When it comes to getting speakers, one common mistake is to think we need a bunch of influencers, like a bunch of A-listers, and that's actually a misconception, because the reason is, now it's important to have some, but the reason is many of those A-listers or influencer levels, they're not going to be able to or are going to promote your summit or whatever, your course, as hard as you would like them to. But if you get this kind of tier that's right below that, that's still working hard to build their brand, to build their list, to kind of build their business, these are the people that'll go to bat for you, that they'll push hard, they'll share your stuff. Those are the people you really want to fill your summit or any kind of thing that you're doing. As far as the influencers, now we move to this area, and those are easy. Like they're looking for an opportunity. So if you reach out to them and give them an opportunity, they're going to take it. This is also one of the reasons I really love summits, is because it gives you an instant platform, right? You instantly have something of credibility and authority, and it gives you a platform. Now, as far as the influencers, there's different ways you can do it. We have like the stair stepper protocol, where you start with one, they say yes, you ask them if they know anybody, they'll typically refer somebody, and then you just kind of move up the ladder like that. But the reality of it is, when you're reaching out to influencers, you shouldn't go at it like, I need that one influencers. Like my best friend, John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurs on Fire, we did an episode with him actually on the podcast about how you would get him to speak on your summit. And the key is, it's not about reaching out and going, I need this person on my summit. It's about identifying what level of person you need on your summit and finding somebody that can solve that topic that's at that level. Now, the thing is, John, JLD may not be available right now, but somebody's going to be available. And what I mean by available is everybody needs to promote themselves at some time or another. All influencers, they either have a book launch coming up, a new program, they're overcoming a smear campaign, or they're just needing more, they're entering a new niche, whatever. So it's about finding the person who is ready for that opportunity. A perfect example of this is last year, Jack Canfield, author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, he had a new book coming out. So outside of that, you're not really going to get Jack Canfield on your podcast, on an interview or something like that. But during the month of his book launch, he took any request that came in. He did over 1,000 interviews that month. So that's just a good example that don't go after the one person, go after somebody at that level, because you will be able to find them. But ultimately, you really don't want 30 Jack Canfields, because they're not going to push hard for your summit. You want somebody that's a little bit lower than that. And also, I may take just a step back, if it's okay, Patty, just because I realize like maybe some of our course creators here aren't like super familiar with what is a summit to begin with. And that makes a lot of sense. So just to clarify what a summit is essentially a pre-recorded online event that solves a topic with a variety of experts. So, and we have a variety of different types of summits. We have a multi-day summit, which is anywhere from about 3 to 14 days in length, and anywhere from about 30 to 80 speakers. Matter of fact, We had Russell Brunson just did a summit. He did a 30-day summit and did just over $1 million in the first 14 days. Now, on the other end of that, we have a one-day summit. So the one-day summit is, as it sounds, it's one day, but it doesn't mean it's a full day's length of content. It just means that's the amount of time people have to consume the information. So the one-day summit is anywhere from about 5 to 12 speakers, and really only takes about 30 to 60 days of prep, and it's much more tactical. It's solving a single problem. All of these are typically pre-recorded, and they're presented over a period of time that they're released. They're typically given away for free with an option to buy the recordings afterwards. So that's essentially what a summit is. They're extremely powerful. Like I say, summits are the engine for conversation, collaboration, and empowerment. Conversation is whatever that message is that you're trying to get out to the world. There's no better way to instantly get it out across a broad array of an audience or community than a virtual summit. Collaborations, it's really one of the most powerful ways to build relationships with those influencers that are going to speak on your summit, which opens up opportunities for strategic partnerships. And we're going to get into some of the tactics of this on how you can use this to improve your course, both like sales and on the front end. And then of course, empowerment is what is that? It helps to encourage the action that you want the audience to take. So I personally believe every business should have a virtual summit because it's going to be the beginning of your customer journey. And actually, I'm just going to go right into customer journey. So your customer journey, because this is a common area that us entrepreneurs, we kind of skip over or we miss. And I really believe it's just a lack of clarity more than anything. A lot of times we either go straight from like trying to lead gen into like a big sale. So essentially it's like going from first date to marriage. We would never do that in business or like in relationships. And one of the cool things is because of my doctorates, I have a big interest in psychology and why people do what they do or not. And what we need to be looking at is when we're setting up our course, like when we're setting up our business, essentially how we're going to sell, how we're going to bring people in, sell our courses, move them through the process. We need to be thinking of it like that. Like what's the normal buyer mentality, human psychology? So the cool thing with a summit is this is the beginning of your customer journey. Summits do two things. They solve a problem and they build a relationship. Both of these are necessary to be able to move to the next steps, which is monetization, right? Moving your customers along, qualifying buyers. We have to have a relationship with them first. So the summit gives you the opportunity to, one, build your authority as the expert, because it uses expert leverage. You know, you're on this platform with all these other experts, so you must have expertise. You leverage their credibility, their authority, and then they spend time with you on those pre-recorded videos, which builds a relationship. So since we solve a problem, we've now built a relationship. They now know, like, and trust us. They're ready to go to the next step, which is where we typically will go to the monetization step, which is a course sale, like an info or digital product, our courses. And typically we're going to go with a medium priced course at this point. It should be directly aligned. And what we're going to happen at that stage, we're going to collect a wide variety of sales from that, because the people now, they are engaged and they're looking forward to, they trust us and they're looking to buy what we have next. So because of that, we offer the course, they consume that. And then we go into the next step, which is the maximization stage. And this is our high ticket offer. If you're like me, I have certifications, I have online programs, which are essentially like higher versions of courses. You could do group coaching, one-on-one coaching, you got masterminds, whatever you want at this point, it's your high ticket. But essentially at this point, what we're doing is we're solving all their problems. We're giving them a transformation. So we go from creating magnetize, we're creating solving a problem, building a relationship. The course is the next step. We should be solving a single problem with this course. And then we move to the transformation where we're transforming them. We're solving all of their problems. And then the last step is going to be our multiply, which is our membership. This is our recurring revenue. So that's essentially, you know, the kind of flow from how I utilize one-day summits and virtual summits to feed the customer journey ongoing. So now this stays at the front end. It's constantly bringing new relationships in. It's bringing new people in. It's building your list. Like the average summit does around 10,000 leads. Now there's other summits that don't do as well, but the average summit does about 10,000 leads and an average of $30,000 or more. There's people out there that are doing 100,000 leads and, you know, $500,000 or more, but most likely we're going to start off in that normal area. So imagine if you had a new list, let's just say of even 5,000 new leads that were engaged, qualified audience that's now ready to buy your next step, your course. Think about how that will increase the course conversions. So I kind of been rambling on here, Patty and Rob. I don't know if you guys have any specific questions we can go into through that, but that's like the customer journey and how you piece that together.
Yeah, I was going to say, so obviously people getting that transformation by becoming a part of the summit. But does the content need to reflect that as well? Let's say if someone's learning how to train their dog in 30 days or less, and they know how to puppy train and bark on command or sit on command, do you take that person in the summit through that journey as well, or is it a case of you just identifying the problems that they need solving with the expert?
So how I would always start it off, I would start so if you've already got a course created, perfect, you're one step ahead. So that's actually where I would start. I would say, what problem does my course solve? So now that I know that problem is going to be the problem I put into the summit, let's say a 1-day summit. So now I know the problem. And that problem is going to be directly aligned with the course. So this is perfect. So it means anybody I bring into this summit is going to want the solution to that problem. So they're going to be qualified. And the solution they're going to get is going to be in my course, which is going to be the next step. Okay. But the actual summit, what happens on the summit, you're going to have anywhere from, like what I said, 5 to 12 experts talking on different solutions. I mean, think of it like this. If you have 10 people telling you what to do, do you actually really get anything done? Not normally, but what it's going to do, it's going to create interest and motivation to solve the problem. So now that they know they can solve it, that there's tunnel, what's the next step? The next step is to solve the problem, and they've built that relationship with you. So now your course. So the summit is a problem that you've pulled out of your course, and it directly aligns. Now, if your course has more than one problems, you could have one day summit of this problem. You could have another 1-day summit that's pulling people over here with this problem, and it's just feeding this journey that's on. So great question.
Excellent. Yeah, we've been running a lot of summits recently. I think we've done 6 now, 6 or 7 in the last pretty much as many months. We definitely see it as a great way to generate leads. I know for us it's really important, and I know for people that have done virtual summits as well. Yeah. When you get those emails, it's really crucial that or when you start building those relationships up, or you get those emails in, you need to stay in touch with people. So once those registrants come in, is there any advice that people out there, or any key things that people should be doing to keep that list hot throughout the summit, or even before it goes live?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different strategies you can use. Obviously, you're going to have a couple email campaigns. We have what we call the forward-facing campaign and the countdown sequence. The forward-facing is going to be essentially your indoctrination campaign. So this is going to be what is the mission you're on? What is the journey you're trying to take, this audience on, world together, doing what? That one's also, it doesn't matter if they get all of those emails before, during, or after the summit, because it's more about the journey you're on. The countdown sequence, which is also the early bird sequence, is going to be more the technical aspects, what do they need to know to be successful, who's going to be on, when is it going, but also any kind of special. So the cool thing with a summit is it's a self-liquidating. So most ways we generate leads these days is, we do paid traffic. Typically, you put $5,000 into Facebook ads, maybe you get, 1,000 if you're lucky leads out of it. With a virtual summit, you put $5,000 into Facebook ads, people come in, they get into the summit for free, but then a percentage, usually around 20 to 30%, will end up purchasing whatever that, small priced offer is you have in the summit, which is typically to keep access to the videos. That more than covers the ad spend. So that's why we call this self-liquidating offer. You're essentially getting these leads for free. But in the countdown sequence, you're going to communicate, whatever that offer is. Then you're going to have your live sequence, your summit live sequence, which is just letting people know they need to be on it. Other kind of strategies and tactics, I always want to communicate with my audience at least 3 different ways. I want to have an email list, I want to have a Facebook group, and I want to have a chat bot or something like that. So I have a minimum 3 different ways to communicate to them. So I'm always pushing them from one to the other, trying to get them in all of them. So other strategies is we go live in our Facebook group, just like this. We'll bring some of the speakers on early. We'll do like early segments where we'll bring some of the speakers on and get people excited about it. Also, of course, the mini chat sequence. If you can do like a pre-launch promotion sequence or strategy with Facebook ads. This is really powerful for a summit. This would be powerful for selling like anything, essentially. If you're trying to sell your course, again, you've got to get people that are ready to take that action with you. Like going straight, that's why when we do start with a summit, it's a low risk, high value opportunity. It's free for them to come on, so it's low risk. You're giving a ton of value. So it's a really easy yes for people. Now, if I'm trying to get you onto a webinar where I'm going to sell you a $2,000 product, it's probably got to have a lot more value because it's going to be a little bit higher risk for the audience. But what we do, one strategy we use to warm and collect people before we go into a summit is this Facebook ads campaign where we do engagement, commit, close. So the engagement will run ads that are very targeted on that same problem we were talking about. Because again, the whole point is we want to collect the right leads, right? We don't want a list full of people that aren't engaged, that aren't quality. And that's just a point like you should really keep in your mind. I think this has kind of been hyper exaggerated by, some of the influencers out there. It's not about the size of your list. It's about the quality and engagement of your list. I'm not like trying to make any kind of innuendo there. I'm really like, it's not about the size of your list. It's about the quality engagement. My first $136,000 came from a list of 900 people. And that was like, we did a launch to 900 people and made that. But the Facebook strategy is you take that problem and you're going to be talking about that problem. We're going to start with the engagement is going to have authority, testimony, and value. So you're going to have something showing you as an authority. If you've done any speaking, to know, and I know like a lot of us suffer from the imposter syndrome. So a lot of us think, well, I don't have authority. How do I have authority yet? I haven't built authority. It's perception. You always have authority. You can hop on a friend's Facebook group and do a Facebook Live, screen capture that. That's you speaking to a group of people. I mean, you could start there. You could literally teach your strategy to some family members or whatever and get a picture of you teaching a group of people. It doesn't matter. Like, it's about perception. So position yourself as you're the one teaching something. If you've got pictures of you with influencers from conferences and things like that, again, that's authority. Then testimony. So this is where you would kind of highlight any case studies you have. If you have testimonies, this would be great. If you haven't collected like video or actual testimonies, like collected them, you can talk about case studies. So I can sit here and talk about how Brad found me on a training kind of like this. He did my online one-day summit training program, and from that ran his one-day summit, generated a list of almost 10,000 people, now has an entire online business. So that's me talking about a case study. So you're going to have those going. And then lastly, you're going to also have value. So you teaching small aspects. So you don't want it to be like a 30-minute segment. It's a 2 to 5 minute segment. That's your engagement. What's going to happen here is you're going to run these ads for engagement. You're going to create a custom audience. All of those things should be specific to the problem, as I already mentioned. So anybody that's watching for an extended period of time or clicking or engaging should be your target audience, should be the person that you're eventually going to want to buy your course, right? So now that we're collecting this audience, you got two things. One, when it comes to your summit, you can retarget this audience. Your opt-in, your lead generation rates are going to be so much smaller because these are already, you're retargeting. But additionally, you can create a lookalike audience of these. These are your target audience. You create a lookalike, you've got now a lookalike of your target audience, run your ads to that. And so that's the commit. You'll get them to commit to opting onto your summit. And then the close is whatever offer either you have on your summit or when you go into your course sale, the offer you're going to sell on that.
So that's great advice, in particular about the lookalike audience, because Facebook's such a smart marketing tool, and it really gives you that ability to really try and find people who are going to have that interest. And again, that problem, like you said, that needs to be solved. And again, can't stress that enough. These summits need to be solving these problems. Now, we've got some questions that have come in I think
we'll go with this one first.
Who's it from?
This is a really easy one. So first one from YouTube Live. Where's the software available? I put it in the comments there, but Mark, you want to just say where people can find your software?
Yeah, so the Virtual Summit software is available at virtualsummits.com. I'm also going to be throwing in here for anybody that's in the Thinkific tribe. We'll be giving away a resource guide, which is the One Day Summit Starter Guide. It also comes with like a PDF like this, if you can see that, which has the actual One Day Summit formula. But the most important thing is it actually comes with the strategy guide. So you can actually write out your strategy for your One Day Summit, and it comes with the training with that. So the Summit software is at virtualsummits.com, but I'll just give you guys the link and stuff that you can put in to give anybody who wants it. Yeah, right there, the One Day Summit Formula Starter Guide. That comes with the resources on how to like start building out your One Day Summit, along with those PDFs. I use this honestly, like every time because I work with consult with clients and things like that, but also every summit I run, like this is what I go to. I just write out my strategy, my theme, my topic, who are my speakers going to be, what are my offer bonuses, etc. So really good guide. The thing to know, like this was actually the whole One Day Summit formula right here. But the cool thing is, if you're going to use the software does all of this for you. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just
great question though. Whoever that was, shout out to that.
So I was going to say that's one of the things. Everything that we've talked about today, I'm sure there's people. If we weren't going to be talking about any type of software like this, I'm sure some people would be like, "Well, that still sounds like I've got to do quite a bit of work anyway." But obviously, using virtual summits, it makes it completely easy now.
Easy.
We've obviously had the benefit of looking through the software as well, and I can say it is a piece of cake to use. So anyone out there that's a real technophobe, just like me, I promise you can get it done, and you can definitely get it done in one day with that formula. What I want to do is just highlight a couple of questions. I think this one's from Amir Jafari.
There's a couple, good questions here. Let's go with this one first.
So if you're promoting the guest project during their summit segment, when do you promote your own low ticket course?
Cool. So I apologize. I didn't clarify this enough. So during the summit, like that, you're not actually promoting your course. During the summit, you're giving value. The only thing you're really kind of offering during that is the option for them to buy ongoing access to those summit videos, to the speakers that you have on there. But you're not pushing a hard sale. This is all about relationship. Now, once the summit ends, that's when you're going to go into your next offer. So actually, the best way of pointing this right here is, so you're going to run your summit. And after you run the summit, you're going to give them the opportunity to buy ongoing access to that. But then the turn is your next offer. So this is going to be your course. Now, I usually recommend, depends on the ticket price. If you're doing it, if you're following it exactly like I recommend, which is usually about 100 to 150% more whatever you are offering on your summit, like whatever the on demand was, then you can wait anywhere from about 7 to 14 days. So like 1 to 2 weeks before you go into that offer for your course. So if you need more time, if your course is going to be more expensive, if it's a $2,000 offer, or you're going for like a 5 to 10 program, you may wait a little bit longer to build that relationship. But the sweet spot is really right in there, 7 to 14 days before you make the next offer, which is going to be your course. Great question. Let's go into the next. If you guys had another question you were saying. All right. So I can't hear you, but it looks like it says, why are virtual summits strategically better than an ongoing interview show with a series of expert guests? Okay. So is that like a podcast? Maybe it sounds like a podcast. Like, so first off, I'm not saying anything's bad, right? Like I have a podcast as well, Virtual Summits Podcast, where I interview, summit experts. The difference with this is it's kind of like a launch. Think of it like this. So first off, there's two aspects of this too. One, to get people to engage and take action, we need to create some kind of reason or momentum for them to do it. So if we have a show, you're going to get subscriptions. And, you can ask anybody who runs a podcast. And I'm right there. Anybody that runs a podcast will tell you podcast is not a quick win strategy. Podcasting, which is a ongoing interview show, is a long-term strategy. So you're interviewing one person at a time over a series of weeks, months, years, in your credibility. Now, a summit allows you to do that in a very short amount of time. So it's like taking a year of podcasting and putting it into one weekend or 1 week. That's strategically why it's better. It's also from a, like a planning standpoint, you can create a much bigger event around it because you're giving access to it and you're pulling away. Now, again, keep in mind, I said podcasting is good. My best friend's John Lee Dumas. If I ever said it wasn't good, he would come and get me. But what I'm trying to say with the difference between podcasting and summits is going to get them to take action immediately. It seems of higher value because it's positioned over a specific problem and they can get it in a small amount of time. So that's typically what's better. And when you're getting like in the podcasting world, like I know my guests will share my show, will share their episode, but usually they're not mailing out for my episode. Very, very rarely can I get them to actually do 5 or 6 emails about the show, right? But during a summit, you can get those experts to send out 5 or 6 emails. I mean, that's usually what you want them to do. And then you're not going to have them on the summit unless they're agreeing to promote the summit as well. Now, you can decide what level of agreement or what level of promotion that is for each person, but you're going to get a much bigger push. And that's why we see people like, I've never heard of a podcast when they launch or on an episode generating 50 to 100,000 leads. So I would say that's like the easiest way to understand the difference.
Good question. Something that's very good information, but something I wanted to quickly touch back on when we were talking about agreements with partners or people to promote your summit. What are the key, do you lock people in like with a contract, or is this done on good faith? What are some of the key best practices that people need to think about when they're building these partner agreements or these sending agreements?
Yeah, so I always just do it. Like I just do it based on a commitment. Like there are people out there that actually have contracts, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that sounds good to you, I mean, I have speaker agreements that I've had legally crafted. Just for me, like I know, but if my goal is to build a relationship with this person. So let's actually come from the summit from the aspect of the speakers, right? This is super powerful for your course too. I can't tell you how many people that I've had on my summit, like speakers, that then became strategic partners that I was then able to do like a partner webinar with and sell my course for, right? Like the relationship you can build on these has huge opportunity, huge possibility. So when I'm reaching out to people, we go back to originally, what's the problem? And we make sure it's a good fit. Like it's got to be a good fit. Now, if it's a good fit, I'm going to reach out to them, and depending on where they're at and how bad I want them on my summit, depends on what I'm going to offer to them. Like we almost always do some kind of affiliate agreement where like if they promote it and people opt into the summit and then end up buying the summit, we'll do a rev share with them. And that's fair. They're pushing people towards the summit. Like they should be compensated for that. Now, I don't ever pay, like, remember, I wouldn't pay a speaker to speak, but I will give them a way that we can compensate them. But there's all kinds of other ways that don't even involve money that you can do. Like with some of my top speakers, like we'll sometimes create like a little bit of a competition, and whoever generates the most leads, the top 5 spots or top 2 spots, whatever, we'll have this kind of like special expert speaker promo packet where we'll let them send an email to the list, or we'll do a partner webinar for them, or we'll like let them do a Facebook Live to our group. We'll find other ways that are very valuable to them to benefit them. My goal is I want the summit to be a success for everybody. I, of course, want it to be a success for me, but I also want it to be a big win for my speakers, because that's going to generate a relationship that's going to benefit me long down the road. And then I want it's got to be a win for your attendees as well, because if it's not a win for your attendees, you did all this work and got this list, but now they're not going to move forward in the customer journey. When you go at it with a win-win-win mindset, it's very profitable and very powerful for everybody.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And what I like about this, and so with Virtual Summits, approach now, you've got leads being generated, great first new relationships being generated, and then that long-term, partnership after. So I think that's some really important stuff for people to take away. So Mark, how can people get in touch with you? What's the very best way for them to reach out and learn more from you, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go, we have our Facebook page, Virtual Summit Software, where you can, get access to us and, ongoing updates and cool things with the software. We do have like a 14-day free trial. You can jump in, check that out. Also, I would love for people to come check out my podcast.virtualsummits.com. I think it's, especially if you're at the beginning stages, maybe you're still not solid or certain that like a summit is for you. If you're at that stage, I believe the best place for you to start is at this podcast. On the podcast, so it's a combination of strategy sessions where I'll be teaching specific strategies. And then we have expert interviews. And so what's cool about this podcast is I interview people from every aspect of a summit. So we have summit hosts talking about the strategies that worked well for their summits, the failures that they've had, the things they wish they would have known before they've done their summits. And I mean, some of these guys and gals have generated hundreds of thousands of leads. We also have speakers, again, like my buddy John Lee Dumas, other people on that podcast, coming from the aspect of their summit speakers. So how would you get somebody like JLD on your summit? What are the offers that you could make to them, or what's the best way to communicate with them? We've got summit coaches and consultants on there talking about the strategies they use to teach their students. They teach, they host summits for other people. Like honestly, like I've been running summits for like 7 years now. I've done over 25 of my own summits, helped hundreds, if not multi-hundreds of people run summits. And I've still been taking away clinical gems for myself that I'm now implementing into my summits. So if you're just thinking about getting started, I'd say the Summit podcast is the great way to start. Otherwise, if you're ready to kind of take action, if you're like, okay, this sounds good. I've already got my course solid. I just need to get more leads to it and start generating more sales. I would say go with that, the One Day Summit starter guide. Again, we have that over and Patty and Rob have that link. It's virtualsummits.software/Thinkific. You can go there and get that One Day Summit starter guide. Like I always recommend, if this is your first time ever doing a summit, I always recommend starting with a 1-day summit before jumping into a multi-day summit. I want you to get a win before jumping in and trying to this huge event, right? So that 1-day summit guide right there, the starter guide, is going to give you everything you need to know to get started with the 1-day summit. Again, it's going to come with the 1-day summit formula, also the strategy worksheet, which you can map out your own 1-day summit with. And that's just a really good way of getting started. Other than that, you can reach out to me directly over at Virtual Summit Software on Facebook. Get in touch with me. I'm happy to, talk strategy, talk shop, help you out any way I can.
Mark, over the past few months now, he's a really great guy. So I encourage everyone to reach out and listen to what he has to say on the podcast. He's got some amazing insights. So Mark, thank you so much, mate. It's a real pleasure to have you on this Facebook Live, and we're looking forward to getting you on for another one very soon.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Always love hanging out with Rob and Patty over there. And all you course creators, just know, look, you can do it. Honestly, everything you have is right here. You got a message that needs to get out to the world, and you can get it out to the world. I personally believe virtual summits are one of the best ways to do it. But whatever, don't give up. I promise you, you're right there and you can make the magic happen. So let's go do it.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks a lot,
Thanks,
Mark.
mate. We'll see you very soon. See you on the next one. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.
Bye-bye.